Hi, my name is Jenny Lauren Dowden for Conduit News, and today we have Representative John Payton joining us. He recently won the runoff race for State Senate District 22. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you, Jenny, for giving me an opportunity.
Of course. Well, we have not had you on Conduit in quite some time. As I mentioned, you recently won the runoff race for State Senate District 22. Your opponent was Senator James Sturch. Big win. Talk to us about that.
Well, it took a lot of effort and just a tremendous number of people that came out and helped. I have so much gratitude for people that knocked doors and held signs for me, and of course contributed to my campaign, and then several conservative organizations like your own, that were not coordinated with our campaign, but all of a sudden I'd be getting calls and seeing mail that was delivered that had been sent out by some great conservative organizations that got behind us, and I felt like I had something to offer District 22 that not only do I have common principles with the people of District 22, but I'm willing to stand on those principles, so I think my message was well received, and of course you never know how an election is going to go till the last minute, but very pleased with the results. Had no idea that we'd win by such a wide margin.
That's right. Yeah, you walked away with nearly 59% of the vote. One thing that I think was unique in your race, you as well as your opponent, Senator Sturch, you both had records for voters to go back and research and to look at. And that in essence gave the voters power. Once they have that knowledge, they have power to make an informed vote. Whereas a lot of other races, voters were just having to go off of what they said, what they said they would do once they got in office. But in your race, voters could really go back and say, okay, you know what, here's how Senator Sturch voted on these bills. Here's where Representative Payton voted. How do you think that ultimately played out in what the voters wanted?
Well, I think it's key because so many times we have to vote and try to judge people on what they say, and we don't really have a record to go on. I've been in the House of Representatives, and I've been the majority whip during two different sessions. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to silence that.
That's
but
okay.
I've been the majority whip on two different sessions, and we see freshmen come in and they say the same thing on the campaign trail, and people elect them, but so many times it's hard to stand on those principles when so many power brokers and key figures in Little Rock are telling you that it's not a good idea or it's best to vote the other way, so having the records where you can, and when we sent out mailers and we published my opponent's records, we always put the bill number and the date so that they could be verified and checked rather than just rhetoric. And your organization and some others that put information out there always had the footnotes, so people could check it out. And I think it was very key.
I mean, so
it is a huge component, and it's a huge asset to the constituents, which I still consider myself a constituent. I vote on other races, for other elected officials that represent me, and you've got to know a candidate's character and whether or not they will stand on their principles, because many times they're great people and they live godly lives and they have the right principles, but they get to Little Rock, they get deceived, or they get misled, or just decide to vote for position instead of principle.
Absolutely. One other thing that was interesting about your race, we saw several key members of the state establishment come out there towards the end and endorse your opponent. If you're watching social media, if you're listening to those that are heavily involved in the grassroots organizations, that's not something that resonated well with them. How do you think that ultimately played out in your race?
Well, it's something we had to overcome with personal contact and meeting people and being present in the district. I already had a lot of family and friends and business associates and things up through the district. So I had a huge advantage in that area. And I think an endorsement from the guy next door or the aunt or uncle or cousin or something is far better than an endorsement from a politician. And conventional wisdom would be that the primary and especially the runoff would heavily favor the incumbent. And so, so many times, you have the political players that are in government and they want to be on the winning side. And so it's always safer to endorse the incumbent, in that situation. But I had some great surrogates in the district that were, people of good reputation, and I was able to get out and visit and meet them at restaurants and businesses and at home, and I think those endorsements are worth far more than a political endorsement.
That's what it's all about. Well, listen, before you go, I want to get your thoughts on what happened Friday, a huge historic day. Roe v. Wade was overturned, of course, returning that power to the states. You have been involved in the pro-life movement for quite some time. Just give us your thoughts on that being overturned.
Well, I get chills just thinking of it. I mean, it's a day I've waited for all of my adult life. I've always believed that life is precious, and God ordains each instance where life is created, and so I've always been, a pro-life proponent, and fought hard in the legislature. I probably would have never gotten politics if it wasn't for that motivation, the pro-life issue. And I'm so proud of our Supreme Court justices, and I've been praying that God would put a hedge of protection around them and their families, and just help our nation to accept the decision, because it's ultimately just on the legal basis, it's the right decision.
Right.
I hope the states make the right choices. I'm so proud to be part of the people in, the legislators in Arkansas that passed the bill that made abortion illegal in Arkansas, except to save the life of the mother. And, when you're saving the life of the mother, I mean, the child can't live if the mother dies, of course. So
Right.
I hardly even consider that an abortion. But we definitely need to work quickly and earnestly to try to put the helps there
Yeah.
for the women that are in crisis pregnancy situations and need help with the pregnancy and with the birth and rearing the child. We need probably to work on some adoption reform, so that
Yeah.
we can make it easier and safer to adopt children from pregnant, from those crisis pregnancies. And so I think there's a lot of work, a lot of follow-up to do, but it's just awesome that we can now consider June Life Month,
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining Conduit. Listen, we are excited about your win. Look forward to November, and please come back and join us again on Conduit.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.